When you talk about bumping a player, it's pretty much
Great courage. One that says the bump is dead, that's how you deliver it.
What is going on, YouTube universe? My name is Trent. Some of you out there in YouTube land might know me as Zirra from the other content I drop as well. And welcome to my new AFL based channel, The Hip and Shoulder, where I'm going to be dropping all content that is related to the beautiful sport of Australian rules football. And today we're diving into something that I've always wanted to do content creating coverage of, but something I've truly never felt comfortable enough to do in the past, and that is SuperCoach. It is a platform that I have played for many years. Last season was probably my breakout year. I had one round where I placed 9th overall, and I think overall I just fell out of the top 1,000 by the end of the year. So I'm not at all by any means claiming to be an expert, but I've had people in the past, especially those close to me that knew that I wanted to get this channel going, suggest that, you know, doing SuperCoach based content could be a good thing to throw into the mix here for the Hip and Shoulder, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to dive on in. We're kicking it off today with selecting my first initial team, and then throughout each round of the season, we'll look at players that are on the bubble to come in, some fallen primos that might be worth picking up, players that are injured and you might want to trade out. We'll do a week by week coverage, and I'll show you guys the trades that I'm going to make, and I'll make some suggestions to you guys at home as to some players you can bring in as well. I've been very up and down about the makeup of my team this year, and as you can see, we've still got a blank slate. By this point in time, I've already made my team and changed it about 50 odd times, but we're a couple of weeks out from round 1. I think round 0 actually starts next week, so we've got to get cracking. And I think the first area that we can truly look at is the ruck line, because it's the one line where I'm convinced of the 3 players I'm going to pick. R1, Max Gawn. Can't look past him. I don't know what the fuck I've just done there, but we're going to go Maxi Gawn. Can't go past him. He had a practice match tonight, so at the point of me recording this, Melbourne and Carlton has already gone down. I think he scored something like 188 SuperCoach points. Being a solo ruck kind of scares me a little bit, because if he goes down, there is no real backup for Gawn. But the good thing about his price point is there's so many decent options around him that we can always upgrade or downgrade to. But I can't look past him now that he is solo ruck. I mean, as I just said, on the off chance of him getting injured for Melbourne as a team, it would screw them immensely. SuperCoach wise, we've got the affordability to go to a Sean Darcy. You know, a Jared Witts isn't that much more expensive. We can go down to a Luke Jackson, seeing how he's going. Todd Goldstein could pop off at Essendon. But I think the fact that he doesn't have much competition means that we're going to see him get a lot more CBAs. We know that he goes forward and kicks goals. We know he goes back and he takes a lot of intercept marks. So I'm very confident locking him in at R1, especially with the fallen price too, given the fact that he's 583,000. And Tim English is up there at 715. Last year, my ruck combination was English and Rowan Marshall. And this is going to be a stock standard duo, because I think nearly every team is running with a variation of this, but my R2 is going to be Brodie Grundy. I mean, look, 65% of teams for Brodie. We look at Max Gawn, he's in 51. So at least 50% of the players playing this game have one or both of these ruckmen. Grundy going to Sydney, he doesn't have much competition. You know, Grundy's going to be the #1 ruck there. He's got a solid engine room around him to tap the ball too. We know he can go forward and kick goals as well. I don't know whether he's got the same capacity as Gawn to go all around the ground and mark defensively and everything else, but for a fallen primo, in my eyes, to be only 480,000, you know, you're looking at players like Matt Flynn, Ivan Soldo, Sam Draper, Bailey Williams. These are players that, you know, you wouldn't normally have Grundy in the mix with, because Grundy's been so synonymous with being a top tier ruckman. I think he gets back to his best this year at a new club, and I'd think you'd be crazy to look past him. As for my bench option, for the longest time, I was looking at Toby Conway from Geelong. 180,000. There's a lot of talk going around that he could be in the mix for the ruck spot, the number 1 ruck spot. I don't know if Stanley's still injured, if they want to play Blixavs as just a, you know, a crumbing midfielder, big, tall, crumbing midfielder. But with an injury to Toby Nankervis, and there's no time frame on whether he'll be ready for round 0, whether he's going to be out for a few weeks or not, and having seen what he can produce in the match sim against Melbourne and then the other night against Collingwood, Sam Naismith for me, and he's gone up in ownership as well to 20%, but I'm taking Sam Naismith for the bench. Adam Uze in the game against Collingwood just the other night indicated with the selection of Naismith and Ryan that he might be one of those coaches that likes going with the two-prong attack in the ruck. And I think while Samson Ryan showed glimpses, he's still very raw with his talent, and Naismith is a lot older, he's a lot more proven. I feel Naismith and Nankervis is going to be the 1-2 punch that Uze runs with, and I'm happy for Naismith, even if he only plays, you know, the first X amount of games of the year. He's going to generate enough cash for us to cash in and to make a little bit of money to spend elsewhere. I'm confident enough as a Richmond supporter to think that he's going to get a decent run this year. So I'm happy to lock those 3 in quite comfortably. I'm going to move on to the forward line next, because the forward line, again, for me at least, is easy to pick because we've got so many cheap options to go with. For my big hitter, I've been considering Dustin Martin all pre-season. You know, there's talk about him hitting personal bests in the gym, on the track. However, with all this talk of him getting midfield minutes and then seeing him not get many of those midfield minutes against Collingwood, I'm a little bit worried. I'm more tempted here to go Shea Bolton. And Shea Bolton had a decent outing considering that he had 3 missed shots on goal, so that would have boosted his, you know, his score incredibly. I think he's going to find a lot more of the ball inside midfield this year. I think Dusty's going to be more of a floating forward type player. I think Bolton's going to be used more in circulation as a midfielder. And as a small crumbing forward, he is very damaging at ground level. So I'm happy to take him. At this point in time, I might swap out. But I'm more confident with Bolton over Flanders. A lot of people are going Flanders, 46%. I'm not taking Flanders in my team. It might be crazy, but my next option is here. Now, he's only got 2% ownership, and I actually wanted him in my team before the Collingwood game, and he had a big outing against Richmond. I don't know whether that's because Richmond historically just let midfield type players get big scores, but I'm really liking the look of Patrick Lipinski. I feel, you know, still Sidebottom's not going to get much midfield time. I think being an older player, he's going to get rotated more because Collingwood now have the affordability to rotate those midfielders because they've got a big engine room. So players like Pendlebury, Sidebottom, they're going to get recycled a lot, you know, off the bench into the guts. DeGoey will probably get a lot of midfield minutes. Nick Dacos will get a lot of midfield minutes. But you're going to have players that are going to rotate through, and I think Lipinski is one of those dangerous players that even as a wingman or a high half forward is going to get enough of the ball to get decent scores. He could drop down to another player, but I'm really liking his preseason. He's come out, he's looking fit, he's looking firing. You know, there's not really, at his price point, risk versus reward maybe, but I'm willing to roll the dice. Moving to the next one, we drop down in price again, and this is where the forward line this year is so interesting because there are so many like bargain bin value players that we can pick up for next to no dollars at all. I was considering Zach Fisher, but I've kind of cooled on Zach Fisher a little bit, and the next player I want to bring in, it might be worth just typing their names in instead of trying to scan the entire bloody list for them. Nat Fyfe, there he is. Bringing in Nat Fyfe, and he's in 48% of teams, which a lot of people would think is crazy, but he's back in the midfield. Longmuir has come out and said that he is going to get a lot more midfield minutes. They're going to play him as a pure midfielder. He looks to be back to his best in the capacity that he can be given his age and what he can produce. At that price point, if he can bang out a 90 average, he's going to rise in price really quick, and he could end up being, especially if he plays those permanent midfield minutes, he could end up being a keeper for us in the forward line come the end of the season. So again, not really much risk with him on the downside, probably the fact that he's a little bit more injury prone. But with his price point here, it opens up so many sideways trades if he does go down. We've got a James Jordan, you know, you've got some cheaper options as well. Very curious to see the role James Jordan plays, because I am kind of keen to bring him in if he does play that wing role. I'm just not 100% convinced just yet. James Harms, however, I am going to bring in. We know Bailey Smith has gone down with injury at the Bulldogs. McRae still having issues with a hammy, I think it is. So they're going to be looking to rotate some players through. We know Bontempelli likes to go forward at times. Harms is he's not a exceptional midfielder, but he loves getting the in and under ball. And if he can win a lot of contested ball, he's going to rack up some big numbers and he's going to get us some sizable scores throughout the season. Again, at his price point with all the players around him, if he does underperform or go down with injury, it's easy as a sideways trade. Jack Billings is another one for me. I was a little bit concerned about the role he would play and his job security, but with obviously Angus Brayshaw retiring, some other injuries to some personnel around at Melbourne, I think Billings fits the kind of on-baller rotating from either a wing or even off a half-forward kind of role. Has the capacity to kick goals. He's got okay ball use, and when he is on, his ball use, moving the ball inside 50, is something that Melbourne have struggled with, and he could be that connecting player that really provides something for them up forward. And this is where we can now play around with the real cheapies, and we can have a look, and there are a plethora of players we can pick from. I'm not even kidding here. I've got my eyes set on a few, but just having a look through, Sean Manor for me is one I think we've got to have at least on our bench. I saw the VFL Grand Final last year and was blown away by his performance. And if he gets a run at it, I think he could be a really good addition to Geelong's midfield. Cooper Simpson is another one I'm kind of keen on, but I don't know whether I'll take him as a forward or if I will take him as a midfielder to have that forward mid swap. Having a look here, Sam Darcy is one that a lot of people are keen on. I don't know what role he's going to play at the Bulldogs. I don't know whether he's going to play up forward because they've already got Norton and Ugle-Hagan, or whether he goes back and plays a more defensive role. But if he plays defensively, because of his height, he could very well take a lot of intercept grabs, which is going to result in some big scores. Could chop out in the ruck, getting some extra hit-out points as well. So definitely one I think worth putting on the bench for the bare minimum. Steely Green is one I'm keen to see if he can break into the Richmond team as well. But the one player that I really like the look of, and he's going to cost you a little bit more money to bring in, is Caleb Windsor from... actually, I'm going to bring him in as a midfielder because I can't go past Alex Sexton. Yeah, we're going to go Alex Sexton. Sexton's role at the Gold Coast has apparently shifted from a forward to a halfback flanker. And let's be honest, Gold Coast are going to have games where they're going to get heavily scored against. So to have Sexton coming off of a halfback, taking some easy, you know, uncontested marks and chipping the ball around defensively, help him rack up some numbers, help him rack up some big scores. And from the looks of things, Hardwick is happy to use him in that role, and I don't think anybody would really be contesting that position. So if he isn't named for round 0, again, so many opportunity to bring in kids around that price point. Another one's Finlay McRae. I'm not 100% sold on his job security though. I'm really not. We'll go Finlay McRae, because I think if he does play, he'd probably have a bigger scoring capacity as a midfielder and a contested ball-winning midfielder at that than Sam Darcy anyway. So I'm happy to go with that. And I normally try to steer away from, you know, your bottom tier priced players, but this year I think we can afford to go a little bit light, especially with the names there as well, because we know they have potential. And these guys here, I think these three, especially in your forward line, have a lot they can offer this season. Midfield-wise, I think midfield-wise we might leave it. I think we might do that last. Defensively, I have struggled so fucking hard to determine what we are going to do here. I think we can't go past Nick Dacos. I feel if you don't start with him, you're going to be trying to chase him. He could drop in price early, who knows, but I'm happy to lock him away. Then you've got the story of Sicily, you know, with all the defensive breakdowns with injury that Hawthorn have had. Is he going to play a more lockdown role? Is he going to get freed up? We don't know. Tom Stewart, similarly to that. Luke Ryan has said that he can't kick the ball more than 40 metres and he's struggling a bit. Jack Sinclair apparently has an injury here. We can check it out. He's got a cuff. I think he'll be right for round 1, but a little bit up and down there. Nick Newman for me is one that I'm really tempted to bring in. And I don't know how he scored against Melbourne. I'm keen to see. Hang on, let me get that up. Okay, note to self, Nick Newman did not play against Melbourne, but I'm really tempted by him. Harry Sheasel is one that I'm thinking of rolling with, but he's got a higher ownership. Nick Newman stands out as a pod, and I really want to make some pod decisions. Sheasel again is another player I feel that could drop in price early. I feel we can't go off of that match sim because he had a lot of the ball, but I don't know. It's very hard. It is very hard. Nick Newman, however, has impressed me last year. I wanted to try and get him in late and couldn't. If we have a look at his numbers from last year, if we can, just for a second, please. I just want to see the numbers he had. So overall, he finished the season off really strong. He had that one down game against Hawthorn. He obviously got injured against Sydney and had a couple of games where he didn't play. Prior to that, he's had a couple of games where he kind of drops off a little bit. But then you have a look at a Sheasel, and I think the numbers speak for themselves with him, really. I mean, he had a couple of games where he dropped off, but when he went big, he went big. Like, he was popping off. Like, Richmond let him do stupid things. Essendon let him do stupid things. Gold Coast let him do stupid things. For me, it's a coin flip right now. I do want to take Nick Newman. I've been more... Oh my God, my whole team just reset. Okay, I've got my team back. As I was saying, at the moment, I'm really coin flipping between Newman and Sheasel. I'm going to take Newman for the time being. Probably going to be to my detriment, but as I said, there's a lot of teams I've seen that, you know, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for SuperCoach where they share teams and ask for opinions, and a lot of teams are the same. I feel there are a lot of teams that have, you know, Max Gawn, Grundy, Billings, Fife, Harms, Dacos, Sheasel. So I want to make some decisions that give me a little bit of an edge with some players of difference, or pods as they're known, which takes me to my next selection. And while a lot of people are going for Hayden Young, I'm liking Jaden Short. And I like Jaden Short because they've added, you know, giving solid points to players that get meters gained. And he went absolutely ballistic against Collingwood. I think he kicked 799 meters gained. He finds a lot of the ball. Whenever he clears it long. He can kick goals. He can take, you know, intercept grabs. He's a quick paced little player. So I don't mind Short, especially when the trade-off is a Hayden Young is at 34%. Jaden Short, we're getting at 3%. So we can have a bit of a play around there. I could potentially, in this spot, look at getting a Tom Stewart, a Sicily, you know, a Sheasel, even maybe a Dan Houston as well to fill, you know, 4 spots here and maybe go 4 primos in defense and then maybe go 3 or 4 here with a couple of cheapers in the midfield. But we'll go for some kind of mid-priced players in defense from this point on, just to see how we can disperse our money a little bit more, you know, a little bit more smart. I think if we go down to lowest price, we can easily lock in one straight away, and that player for me is, I think his name's Ethan Phillips. It is, for Hawthorn. He's got 16% ownership. He'll be playing in this weekend's game against Western Bulldogs, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes there. Obviously, with personnel going down in the back line, it opens up the door for Phillips to play. He got brought in as a supplementary player pick. And obviously bringing him in as a defensive player to fill that need tells me that they're going to give him game time. Even if he doesn't get game time, maybe a good captain's loophole for us there. There's some other decent options around, especially young options. Having a look here, I'm still not 100% sold on Curtin from Adelaide. Marty Hoare's one that I've kind of floated around a little bit. Toby Pink is another one as well that I think will get some game time, especially with Ben Mackay out. Is Toby Pink the player to come in? I'm happy to roll the dice and give him a crack. Nick Caulfield for me is one that I think is underrated as a player. I feel if he's fully fit, he's one definitely that we need to have on our team, especially for that price point, because I really rate him as a player. 57% ownership speaks volumes. We keep looking through. Josh Gibkiss is another one for me. He looks fit. He's not going to get a stack of disposals, but he's a solid overhead mark. He's going to get spoils. He might take a couple of kick-ins here and there as well for an additional couple of points. He's only going to be a 60, maybe 70 point average at best, but he's going to make enough money for us to go elsewhere, which at the end of the day, even if he's a bench option, is a great selection. Other players as well, obviously Dan Curtin, 47% ownership. I'm not 100% certain on. Zach Williams is still battling a knee injury, and he's kind of fighting to be fit, so I'm not 100% sold on Zach Williams. One player that I am very keen on, however, is Massimo D'Ambrosio, who I'm very upset Richmond didn't pick up because he was out of our VFL system when he did get drafted in the mid-season draft. Coming off of half-back for Hawthorn, in the match sim, he looked really good. Very keen to see how he performs against the Bulldogs, but I liked a lot what I saw about him. Very keen to see how he can continue his year on. And I think having a look here, I definitely want to get another high-priced premium type player to fill a need. I'm still not sold on Kitty Coleman either. I don't know. I just feel he might be a little bit too up and down for me to pick. I think what we might do just to play it safe is probably look at a Harry Sheezel. I mean, there's a notable drop in price between players like this and this. I don't know, even Hayden Young at that price as well. If I brought in Young, I think we might go with Young. I mean, we can always look at Sheezel as an upgrade option. I'm kind of happy with Short, Dacos, Newman, and Young. Newman, obviously, I can always swap out for Harry Sheezel if I want to. They're effectively the same price anyway. But I just like my pods in Short and Newman. Gives me something a little bit different. Same with Lipinski. Gives me something a little bit different. Midfield-wise, now we can have some fun. Marcus Bontempelli, he gets points for just walking out on the field. If you don't start Marcus Bontempelli, you're a fucking idiot. SuperCoach kissed this player on the dick. He could sneeze, he's going to get 50 points for it. So definitely have to lock him away. I was originally wanting to start Christian Petrarca, but seeing a little bit of how he played against Carlton, I'm not 100% sold on him yet. We don't know whether he's going to play more forward minutes and get forced out of that midfield, especially when Clayton Oliver comes back in. So not willing to go him just yet. I feel his price might drop and we can get him at a later point. Rory Laird is one I'm very tempted to start as well. I'm more inclined to go Rory Laird over Jordan Dawson just because Rory Laird gets a lot of the feeding contested handballs out and he racks up a lot of points that way. Not overly sold on Butters as well. Luke Davies-Uniacke is one that really intrigues me. Same with Errol Goulden. I really like the pair of them. Tom Green I'm locking away early, and I know he's got early buys and everything else, but he's got a very soft start to the year, given the teams that he plays. He could go big early. I think he's going to have a big year this year, and I really am happy to just roll the dice with him coming out the gate. Sarong is another one I'm thinking of. Darcy Parish, there's been some good talk about him. If there wasn't this fucking back injury with Sam Walsh, he was a lock for me all preseason. And this back injury kind of has me a little bit worried. I don't think... Yeah, round 1 is our first official game. So round 0, if he doesn't play but he gets named round 1, we can always bring him back in for a sideways trade because I don't think we're going to get billed for any trades in round 1. What I'm going to do is we're going to have a look at the cheaper options at this point, kind of build in where my rookies are going to fit, and then see how much money's left, and we can bring in some primos that way. One player that's kind of mid-price that I want to bring in is Carl Amon. I love the idea of the role he's playing, and I think he can get a lot of the outside ball. Another player who is kind of around the same price point is Nick Martin. He's apparently been taking in a lot of kick-ins for Essendon, playing a halfback role, essentially kind of a similar role to what Mason Redmond's playing. If he's taking kick-ins and he's getting a lot of, you know, easy points that way, he will most likely get, you know, mid-defensive DPP come that point in time, and he could very well be a top 10 scoring defender that we can easily slot in to our defensive line and upgrade one of these rookies to a better midfielder. So I'm happy to put Amon and Nick Martin on the ground there as my mid prices. As far as bench options go, I do like Cooper Simpson. There's a lot of raps about him at Fremantle. Some other players worth noting. I'm really keen to see if McAuliffe gets a run for Richmond, because he's got a lot to offer, that kid. Jackson Binns had a decent showing, I thought, against Melbourne, but very low scoring though, so I'm not too keen. Jeremy Sharp, I think we've got to lock in. He's going to get a solid run at Fremantle. Jai Clark is another one I'm really tempted by. Jacob Weir, I'm taking Weir. He might get that outside wing role at GWS and get a license to run and carry. Really like the possibility there. But Simpson and Weir are probably going to be bench options. When we look at options to possibly play on the ground, I do like the idea of bringing in, where is he? Henry Hustwaite. Only 9% ownership. He looks to be, again, one of those players that could get a wing kind of inside mid role, and especially with the midfield group with Hawthorn, they're going to have some players rolling through. I really like the look of this kid, and I'm hoping he can generate a little bit of cash for us. We've also got Riley Sanders from... Oh, we've still got Colby McKercher as well. This is a bit of a worry here, because I like Colby McKercher, and I also like... where is he? Riley Sanders. I think McKercher, Sanders, and Hustwaite all have possibilities here of scoring rather well. And obviously now we've got ourselves a bit of a problem, because I've only got one position left. 500 odd thousand to spend. That money went rather quickly. I didn't realize that yeah, I don't know. Who we can only bring in somebody around that price point too. Jordan De Goey is one I don't mind. It looks like he might be getting permanent like more permanent midfield minutes. Jack Steele is another one that I really like as well. I'm inclined to probably bring him in, but now having a look at some of these players, it might be worth not playing someone like a Hustwaite, bringing in someone cheaper, and then upgrading one of these guys here. In which case, I'd probably be more inclined to get rid of an Amon, bring in somebody like... See, Tim Taranto's another one. He got a lot of the ball. Really like the look of him. Darcy Parish, again, still has a very low ownership. I'm actually curious. Oh, see, Brayshaw, Sarong, but Sarong, if I take him, it wouldn't leave me with much money. I think also the trade-off here is the fact that I've gone for 4 defensive primos. We're going to be a little bit lighter in the middle. I could always drop someone like a Young, but then we're going to be too exposed in the back, and I feel these young kids are all going to get game time. I do want to play either a Davies Uniacke or a Errol Goulden early too, because Davies Uniacke is going to get a lot of the ball. He is a freak. But if I select him, see, again, we're down to 47,000. That doesn't give us much breathing room at all. This is where as well we could drop one of these players to like a Williams, which frees up some money, which we could do just for example's sakes here, just to see who we can fit in to the team. I don't even think he's going to be right for round 1, but that gives us 350. See, that's not even much. It looks like we're just going to have to roll with another kind of cheaper option here. Carl Amon isn't that bad of a choice. I still do like that selection. I think he's going to get a lot of the ball. He's going to generate some money, and he only needs to generate realistically, you know, 100,000 to get us to a point where we can get a premium player in for him. See, I think here do we bring in someone like a Hustwaite, or do we put somebody like a Wilson from St Kilda, because St Kilda has had a couple of injuries as well, and Wilson could get a solid run. It gives us a forward mid swap as well. Let's do that. I'm liking the look of that team. So what we could do here is we get Jack Steele onto the ground. We'll take off Cooper Simpson. Sanders goes on. Oh, whoops, what have I done? I didn't mean to do that. We're going to put Sanders on the ground for Wilson, and McKercher will go on for Weir. Well, obviously emergency Sexton, emergency Naismith. I think the best emergency here will probably be maybe Weir. And then we get Ambrosio onto the ground for Phillips, and we get Young onto the ground for Gibkiss, and we put Gibkiss as our emergency. I'm happy with that mix, because ultimately when we look at that, we only need 2 players upgraded defensively, because I still feel Dacos, Newman, Short, and Young all have potential to be a top 10 scoring defender this year. Bontempelli's going to score well. Green and Steele are players that can be kept as well. Nick Martin, again, if he gets that DPP and he scores well, he takes one of those slots in defense, and we only then at that point only need to find 1 upgrade there. Amon will generate enough money to be upgraded. McKercher, Sanders, those type of players should earn plenty of money. Jeremy Sharp will earn money real quick as well. Gorn and Grundy aren't going anywhere. Naismith will generate enough money for us to downgrade to like maybe a Malley from North Melbourne, who I think is like 102k. Even if he doesn't play, we get basement price to drop him down. Bolton, I think, will play well. Lipinski is still one that I might float around with. You know, we can make an extra, you know, handful of dollars by making him a Fisher, or dropping him down to a 200,000 price player. Sexton's roles change, so he'll generate some money defensively. McRae, if he can get a crack. Manor should get plenty of opportunity. Billings should get some generation going. Harms, I don't know how his role's going to play, but we'll see. Fife's going to make plenty of cash. Fife has potential, as I said, if he scores well and he averages like 90 odd, he can be a F6 by the end of the year to just keep on the ground. I'm happy with that makeup. I mean, I'm projected to score 1700. It's pretty fucking average, but I think that's given a lot of these players that are lower priced are only average to get certain amount. I've obviously got a lot more rookies on the field than I would like, but I do like this team. For my first crack, I think we've got something we can truly work with here. We might have to do a little bit of manipulation, moving around, but I can dig it. I'm happy. Let's lock it away. Do hope you guys enjoyed this little reveal. As I said, each week I'll bring up an update with how I went each round, and then show you trades I'm going to make and talk about players you can bring in and what for your own teams. I'm also going to run my own SuperCoach League, which I do have a link for in the description of this video. So it's open to anybody who wants to play. Doesn't cost you anything to join. It's not a head-to-head competition. It's just going to work off of overall score. Let's see how many people we can get in. Just have a bit of fun, have a bit of banter as well. It's something I love doing every year when it comes to footy. So if you guys want to get on board, help grow the community that I want to build here, I would truly appreciate it. Continued onto that whole aspect of building community, I would appreciate it a lot if you hit that like button down below, and you hit that subscribe button to come along this journey with me. Given that this channel is just starting fresh, it's going to take a while to kind of get to where I want to be, and I would appreciate you guys getting on board and coming along and helping out. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.